We are in the final phases, about a week to go on the interior and about 2 to 3 weeks on the exterior. And I wanted to go over a few things, a few punch list items that I'm looking for, making sure that they're not forgotten. We're gonna go over a lot of things that are commonly forgotten and you want to make sure you get before you take possession of your new house. And then we also, after you take possession, we typically do a 30-day walkthrough, which we do in Roatan. We do it in the United States. It's just good practice. And then again at the 1-year mark, or any reputable builder, this is what they do. But this is kind of my walkthrough before we take possession. Come check out what we're looking at. All right, the finishing details and the common things that I see in a house. So what I'm looking at right now is I'm checking the paint and the lights and the electrical, making sure that all the electrical works. And I'm also looking at where those canned lights are. I'm looking for water spots. What I see in houses a lot is if there is a leak within the piping, if there is a leak in the pipe, you can always see it in the ceiling, but it tends to come out where the light sockets are. So that is something to pay attention to. Now I'm looking at the countertops, where the counters are the seams. I see, and more often than not, I have individuals redo the seams and the caulking around the seams, checking to see if the gas works and if the knobs work appropriately, so you can turn it on low and high, making sure that they did install all of the gas lines with the controls, which is not always done. I like to run the sink actually, and right down below here, this is a UV filtration system, and I'm going to show you what it looks like in the back of the house. But very excited about this little addition. I love the size of it. It's very small. I am also running all the appliances. The big feature here is I'm looking for leaks. So that was actually a leak that is fixed now. But that's the biggest thing, is just making sure all the appliances are working. I like to leave the sinks on. I like to flush the toilets a lot. Right here, I'm just checking the handrails, making sure everything is secured. Oftentimes it's not. We're also looking at some finishing work that I'm gonna have them touch up over on the stairwell, because you can see it's not really sanded in some of the areas. So all very small details. Running the AC, making sure that the AC works, making sure that it can ramp up, ramp down, doing all the things. Now they did finish that floorboard for me over there, but I want to make sure it's a lot of electrical, and really water is the biggest thing that I'm checking for, making sure water isn't coming in anywhere. There's making sure that the fans are working, that the railing is secure the entire way, making sure all the stairs are good. Which I did not show is that I'm going to have them reseal some of the stairs, because I don't like the little gaps in the stairwell. So this is the guest bedroom or the children's bedroom. The fans are working. I'm still checking the ceilings, making sure that there is no leaks from the roof, which in Roatan, Honduras, I think we've had over 100 inches of rain this year. I'm also checking all the plumbing. That's really the biggest thing that I do, is the water, making sure things flush, making sure, and I do run the water a good bit, because if there is a leak, I want to figure out where it is. And it's probably going to come in through one of those canned lights on the first floor from the second floor. So also checking all the switches, making sure that they turn on and off. We don't see it too much in new construction, but sometimes if a wire gets crossed, sometimes if you turn a light switch off, you have to go to the other side of the house to get it on. And that just means they didn't wire the 3-way wire appropriately. Doesn't happen that much in new houses, but old houses, it's kind of a mess sometimes. We did all barn doors, wanted to make sure that they're all on the hinge and that they are working. Was able to test out both of those shower heads, all of the shower fixtures, making sure that there are no leaks, that everything works. We are also opening and shutting all of the windows, making sure that they do open and close. And I'm also checking for dirt and debris, because with construction trash or construction, there's that little debris everywhere. And if it gets in your fancy new windows, or your windows in the grooves, it can make things, well, a little difficult, and it can mess up your windows. So I always check to make sure that the windows are good. And I'm also now checking the wood. They're gonna fix that little thing where the crack is. It sometimes, you know, those things happen. We also need to get those water valves on and check the electrical out there. I'm also not super thrilled with all the knots in the wood, and I'm gonna have them re-sand and repaint. So lots of little details. What you can't see so much just a minute ago with some of the wood, I don't think the person used putty or as much putty as they needed to make that wood seamless. So they're gonna have to come back and redo that. So it's a lot of the little details. We are still working on the carport. They're still pouring the concrete. You can tell they have a lot of work to do. But I also wanted to mention all that concrete debris. That has to be completely removed from your house. It cannot just be covered up. I see that so often is the concrete is just covered up. It's gonna kill any grass or any type of, anything that you wanna plant and grow, it's not gonna grow over that. So make sure you do check that, and it's not just a quick, it's not just, they just don't throw dirt over it or bury it. I've seen that a lot, and we're going back to the wood. They forgot the putty on all of the gray areas. So they're gonna have to re-putty that, make it look like a seamless transition. We are also checking the floors, making sure that they are all laid appropriately. The first floor is actually a porcelain, and the second floor is a vinyl. Even though they look the same, it's a little bit softer on your feet, so that's what we chose for the upstairs bedroom. So when you're walking around, it's just a little bit softer for you. Right now, they are laying pavers, and what you see right there is we just had some pipes. They did put a lot of piping under the ground. Now we are having the ground settled. They have I don't even know what it's called, but it's you can see it over there. They're making sure that the ground is compact. You can see the two septic systems right there, which the septic is off to a great start, which is wonderful. We're not having issues. At the beginning, sometimes the septic, it takes a little while for that healthy environment to, be created. We did just pass by the AC units, so we're checking that they work on the inside and the outside. I'm also making sure the gutters are in. They are draining to where they need. This is a little garden that we started, and if you watch my videos, I am very excited about the greenery, especially being on an island. We have a 365-day growing season. So now we're at the pumps. What we saw earlier in the kitchen is the UV filtration system. That is actually 220 power. That is not quite finished, but we do try, the power and the water are close to each other, which I don't really like, but we did put everything back in this room. That is our water filtration system, and then we also have the UV that is under the sink inside the house. But we have 4 different valves for the house. We did use, I believe, a 1.5 horsepower pump, which is a bigger overkill for this home, but because it's going to pump for a pool as well as a secondary house, we just we put it all done at once. Same with the gas. The gas is only going to be for this house, but little things like the hole in the screen, those guys are going to have to fix that. So it's all those very, very little details. This is a sod that we are placing down. It is, we actually should have ordered about double the amount that we did, but I digress. Now we're also watching, they've got a lot of cleanup to be had. I'm most concerned about all of the dirt, but we'll get there. So these are the 3 access points to the cistern, or it's where the pipes to the cistern that will go to the pool and the secondary house. And then there's also the relief valve when there's too much water. It was actually the 3rd one, but this is the crud that I watch very closely because I do see it more often than not where individuals just put dirt on top of this, or they clean 75% of it up, but every ounce of all this cement mixtures, it needs to go, or it will kill, you will never be able to grow anything. So it's very important that it is completely gone and it's not just covered up. So that's what, all of this, they're gonna have to break it up, pull it out, and even any dirt that has touched it, it's also got to go. And I see that so often. And actually, when we did lay the sod, I was there on site because I wanted to make sure that they weren't just putting sod on top of, or a little pile of dirt and then sod and then pretending like that concrete never existed, because it is a pain to break and it's very time consuming. And so I do see that very often, especially in Roatan, where there is so much concrete work being done. We are now, well, speaking of concrete work, we're still doing some concrete work, building some retaining walls, which this will be a drivable grass driveway to the carport. We did add a lot of earth here and the 2 retaining walls just for just to keep it. It might be a little bit overkill, but I don't want to have to deal with land movement or losing dirt, especially with some of the hard rains that we do get in Roatan. There are some deep roots over there from this little guy. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you have any specific questions, feel free to reach out. This is, we're going to do another video in about 3 weeks when the site has been complete. And then we're also going to start working on those 30-day checkout items or checklist items.